Hi, I'm Naomi Hall, and I'd like to welcome you to Mindset Makeover, finding your power through fitness, nutrition, and community. And my whole heart behind this is that we often kind of know what to do when it comes to living a healthy life and seeking longevity, but we struggle to do those things because of mindset, because of lack of community, or we're doing all the right things in our lives, but we're missing those key pieces. So today I have with me Brent Gleeson, and Brent is a Navy SEAL combat veteran with multiple combat deployments to Iraq and Africa. And upon leaving SEAL Team 5, Brent turned his discipline and battlefield lessons to the world of business and has become an award-winning entrepreneur, best-selling author, and acclaimed speaker on topics ranging from resilience, mental toughness, leadership, and building high-performance teams to culture and organizational transformation. And Brent's latest book is Embrace the Suck, the Navy SEAL Way to an Extraordinary Life. And it was #1 on Amazon in the self-help, self-esteem, and military leadership category. So welcome, Brent.
Naomi, thank you so much. I've been really looking forward to this, and I'm excited about the conversation we're going to have. Should be fun.
Thank you. And let me thank you for your service. I appreciate what you've given so that I can live the life that I lead.
Thank you. As you probably heard from other service members, that most of us believe that it was a blessing and honor to have the opportunity. So thank you.
Thank you. So your book, Embrace the Suck. I love that title because some things that we need to do in life just kind of suck, right?
Yeah, like every day there's something.
Yeah. So I love that you talk about mental toughness. And I just kind of want to address that side of healthy living, kind of the mental toughness, the mental health side of what does it
Absolutely.
mean to be mentally tough?
I think it'd be interesting and possibly, mildly entertaining at least to talk a little bit about my backstory because of the major transformations I had to go through personally, professionally, and from a wellness standpoint, just to make the attempt to transition the obvious transition out of corporate finance into the Navy to drive for the SEAL program. Grew up in Dallas, did undergrad at SMU, and then worked in finance for a year. And even though I was a college athlete, when you're working 80 hours a week as a entry level financial analyst, expected to be first one in, last one out, working on the weekends. Obviously, my fitness level declined significantly, even though I was trying to make some attempt to do something on a daily basis.
Mhm.
Those things, as we all know, diminished in their impact, as far as my actual, fitness levels and also just my general mental health, because like a lot of people, I rely heavily on fitness and mental, emotional, and physical well-being and those types of daily practices to manage stress, manage anxiety, and just the general obstacles that life throws at us day in and day out. So interestingly enough, at the same time, I had a close college friend of mine who was a year behind me. He was now a senior. He was, in fact, one of these young men who've had more or less a lifelong dream and passion to join the Navy and attempt to make it through the SEAL training program. Keep in mind, this was just before 9/11, so kind of a different mindset back then. More a little bit, yes, a call to serve, giving to a cause greater than oneself, but also a little bit more of a personal adventure to see if you could do the hardest military training on the planet. And he and I actually started training together. And after I realized that, look, I got to get back into fitness and make some, adjustments to my schedule, my life. And so for me, it was a way to get back in shape, have an accountability partner, but also, help a really good friend prepare for the arduous journey that laid before him. I, at the time, had you know, no vision of military service whatsoever. And by nature of our training regimen and the time we were spending together, we were having a lot of dialogue about the implications of that journey, service in naval special warfare, the mental and physical condition required just to get into the program, much less successfully navigate the program, which is also very much mentally. But as anyone knows, or any athletes know, your physical training prepares your mind as well, because you're always pushing the boundary of your comfort zone. You're being disciplined in your training regimen. You're being disciplined in your dietary habits and when you go to bed, when you get up. These build mental fortitude. They build grit. They build adaptability. Because without those disciplines, you can't become physically disciplined enough to pursue other types of wellness practices and fitness practices. And long story short, I started reading books about the naval special warfare, the history of it, and all the way up to modern times. And that fascination my passion or re-engaged passion, for the fitness and mental toughness, coupled with the extremely boring nature of my entry-level financial analyst position, led to the culmination to come to the decision, much to my parents' dismay, to quit my job and enlist in the Navy and try out for the hardest program that is available with about a 80 to 90% failure rate. So people were a little concerned. Point being, as soon as I made that decision, everything in my life had to completely transform. I wrote about this in the book a little bit, because it gives a visual representation of what anybody who is trying to become disciplined in any avenue, professionally, personally, from a wellness and fitness standpoint, requires a lot of discipline and a lot of consistency. And consistency, I think, is where a lot of us fall short. But also because we don't create rituals and routines that occur on a daily basis. And again, you eat the elephant one bite at a time. It's not about, okay, I'm going to become a marathon runner. I'm just going to start running, 26.2 miles every day. You'll injure yourself, and then you'll get burned out. And you'll be like, screw that. That was a stupid decision. The only person who would do that would be my friend and colleague David Goggins, but he's an anomaly. He's a unicorn. Let's not go down. Let's keep this about me. People say, do you know David Goggins? I'm like, yeah, of course I do. But so what? Point is, let's talk about real people who are trying to achieve real things based on real life here on planet Earth. And the point of that story is that it was challenging to still be working until at some point I actually had to quit my job because I was like, I'm all in. So we moved to Colorado to train at high altitude, 7 days a week, 10 to 12 hours a day at 10,000 feet. But leading up to that point required a lot of discipline and a lot of changes to my work-life balance, my daily routines, my social life pretty much unfortunately went out the window, and my weekend routines completely transformed. So that's what I kind of want to focus on today when it comes around the discipline of being very intentional in your personal transformation to drive your mindset transformation that will drive you to proactively take those actions associated with achieving better results when it comes to your mental and physical well-being.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that you talk about like it has to be like these incremental changes. Like you didn't go straight from finance to the SEALs.
Right. Yeah, it took a little bit of effort. Well,
Just
but I had to re-engage my passion for running and for swimming and all these things I did enjoy doing. I was a competitive swimmer growing up. I really enjoyed. I played rugby in college, so it's not super to distance running, but at the same time, I do enjoy running, but not distance running, that type of intense activity associated with the type of training we had to do. So again, I want to talk a lot about mindset today, but again, mindset transformation is not just a decision. You have to put routines in place to gradually shift your mind to thinking about your life, your activities, and your priorities in a totally different way. And from a stop, start, continue methodology, a lot of things you need to stop doing that are getting in your way. Routines, practices, habits, a lot of things have to stop for you to reinvest your time and energy into the things you need to begin doing or restart.
Yeah. So how do you make that shift? Because that is a big shift of like, I have to stop certain things and I have to start others, but I can't do them all at once. So kind of where do you start? Like what's the focus? What gets you started so like you said, you can continue?
One of the fundamental tenets of building resilience intentionally and developing and growing your growth mindset is to focus on, they say, control the controllables, but focusing on what is in your control and sphere of influence. An exercise I like to do is just get a piece of paper, draw a circle. And it's got to be related to a specific goal or an obstacle you're trying to overcome or a business objective, but looking at, what is in my control. So in this sense, yes, my schedule, for the most part, very much in my control. My training regimen in my control. Injury is not in my control, but the way I train, that is in my control. So analyzing as deeply as you want to or need to the things that are in your sphere of influence and listing the things that are outside of your control, but still somewhat related and relevant as potential threats or barriers to the achievement of whatever that goal is or whatever that initiative is or overcoming that obstacle. And you don't ignore the things that are outside of that sphere of influence because you want to maintain situational awareness, because those things might creep closer to your sphere of influence, without you knowing it, and become more significant obstacles. And you want to be able to plan for that. And then with that list, so to speak, of the things you can control, you have to look at your priorities and where you spend your time. We
Mhm.
hear it all the time, so I don't want to beat a dead horse, but talking about, well, we don't have time for this, or I don't have time for that. Yes, I get it. And realize sometimes you literally don't have time. There's only 24 hours in a day. But if you really deeply analyze where you spend your time, how you spend your downtime, without sacrificing time with, family, loved ones, significant others, and maintaining meaningful relationships, there's a lot of stuff during the day that we waste time on that you could make, even if you're carving out an extra 15 minutes or an extra half an hour, even an hour. If you really analyze how you spend your time, anybody can find an hour in their day, even if it's broken up, for daily routines. Early in the morning, a little bit, maybe midday, maybe later on in the day, in the evening. There is time there to, while still maintaining sleep discipline, and getting, all the stuff done that has to get done.
Yep. You mentioned sleep. Can we stop on that for a minute and just the importance of sleep when it comes to like being a high functioning, high performing person, like how important that piece is?
Yeah, I have 4 kids, so I haven't slept in years. But anyways, I know we have 17 all the way down to 2. So I'm
Oh,
just now starting to get back into sleep. And again, our lives are volatile. We travel, we work, with kids, other obligations. So it's never perfect. But, I like in the context of, that morning routine. Well, I get up really early and I do this and I do that. And, but the discipline to get up early, same time every day, and go through a very regimented personal daily routine, whatever that routine needs to be, whatever those rituals need to be to help you show up for the day, show up for your family, show up for your team at work, how you prepare your mind and body for the day. Those rituals can be, don't have to be long, 15 minutes, 30 minutes. But the discipline for that starts when? Well, it starts the night before and getting enough sleep that's good enough for you. Everybody's a little bit different in the type of sleep they need, and it's listening to your body, but you have to be disciplined in your evening routines as well. So it comes full circle if you want to be that person who gets up early, has that great daily routine, and you've accomplished more than the whole world has by 9:30. But that starts by going to bed at a reasonable time, and then also it starts with, this pains me to say it, but not consuming a lot of alcohol, eating right, all the other things that make you want to sleep more or have bad sleep.
mhm.
Those things have to be, not eliminated for everybody, but you have to be disciplined in what you put in your body as well. Otherwise, you're not getting good sleep, or you don't feel that great the next day. And so that obviously puts obstacles in front of you when it comes to your level of discipline. They're going to have more voices saying, "Yeah, let's skip today. Let's not get out of bed. Let's stay in a little bit longer." So you have to be disciplined, in a very well-rounded way, to maintain consistency in those types of routines.
Mm. Yeah, you're right. Like
And
you're
again, I'm making this sound easy, and you obviously, like anyone, know this is not easy. I struggle with it. Anybody struggles with it. So
yeah, talking about the fact that it's not easy. One of the things you mentioned, you talked about like finding an hour in your day, and it might be a little bit easier to find that in small chunks. How do we do that? Like we're wanting to live a little bit better, like you said, eat a little bit better, maybe drink a little less alcohol, use our time a little better so that we can, get a little more sleep. And that, how do we find those little chunks throughout the day, that hour?
I mean, it all depends on what your lifestyle looks like, and some of the things that maybe need to change about it. With children or spouse or work, or whatever those balances are.
Mhm.
But and designing routines that make sense, and that aren't, at the detriment of other things or the sacrifice of other important things. So making sure you have your values and priorities aligned before you just start cutting things out of your routines. Because I've seen even people like, marathon runners or people who do ultras and things like that. They train so much it's caused divorce. So let's make sure we're putting things in balance and making sure that your values. And I talked a lot about values, obviously a whole chapter in Embrace the Suck, about making sure your values are associated with the goals you're trying to achieve. And so you're not sacrificing those values to achieve things on your battlefield. One of the sort of more intriguing, thought-provoking lines from the SEAL ethos is, the execution of my duties will be swift and violent when required, yet guided by the very principles and values I've set to uphold.
Mm.
So a little intense, but so we don't have to talk about the execution being swift and violent in this context. But the point being, I will execute the duties associated with the goals I'm trying to achieve personally or professionally, but I will not sacrifice my values for that.
Mm-hmm.
So putting those things in balance and looking at, okay, what types of routines can I have? And those routines obviously need to be adapted to weekend schedules, youth sports, we travel schedules, things like that. So I have like multiple versions of my daily routine. It's
Mm-hmm.
that I can plug and play based on, am I traveling this week? Okay, well, these are going to shift, but it's going to be the same.
Mm-hmm.
Or we've got, these kids activities this week, or I'm coaching, football or baseball. So these parts are going to change, but there are specific frameworks for each of those types of days or weeks. And I encourage people to do that and like write this stuff down, put it on paper, put things in your calendar so you stick to it. Once you get into a routine and rituals of doing it, it becomes kind of habitual, which is what you want. You want habits to form. So much so that, and we use the term habit like a negative thing, but so much so that these are habits that you can't skip.
Mm-hmm.
Your morning routine, you can't skip your workout. It'll drive you crazy if you do. So you want that type of healthy habitual development, from a mindset standpoint. So for me, having, and I've gone through it multiple times, seeing what works, what doesn't. I get up early, not at 4:30 because that's the middle of the night. I know people are, oh, I get up at 4:30. I'm like, that's crazy. I get up at, a little after 5. Not that much longer, but 4:30 just seems stupid. And um, it's almost cliche at this point to say it, but I don't post it on Instagram every day that I do it, but I do cold plunge first thing. And then after cold plunge, I do some reading and some reflection. Sometimes a little bit of journaling, not very long. Again, like 10 minutes, 15 minutes after I cold plunge, just to kind of set the tone for the day. This year, one of the things I'm doing is I'm reading from Ryan Holiday's The Daily Stoic. So again, you're reading one page. There's a quote from like Marcus Aurelius or one of the other Stoics and an analysis of that quote. And I love Stoicism. It's all about mental fortitude, resilience, controlling your controllables, not sweating the small stuff. It's all things relevant to what we're talking about, and using those methodologies to be disciplined in your routines and to cut out all the waste
Mm-hmm.
that gets in the way of us living a good, healthy, productive life. The Stoics were all politicians and business people and athletes and artists and musicians. They weren't sitting around on a hilltop, preaching. They were workers. They were getting shit done every day. So I do that, and then by that time the house has exploded into chaos. And then I realized certain days I'm like, okay, I got to get up earlier tomorrow because I know the kids are going to get up even early today because they have this. So I can't have the kids interrupting.
Mm-hmm.
God bless them, but interrupting that part of my day because it's specific to setting my mind, for the day. I personally enjoy also liking it when I can, doing my workouts or fitness routines in the middle of the day. So instead of going to some 3 martini lunch, I do my workout in the middle of the day, which sheds any of the stress on activities for the first half of the day, sets you up with a lot of energy for the second half of the day, because I'm not one of those people who has the luxury of going to the gym or working out at 6 p.m. because I've got other things that I have chosen. By chosen, I mean I'm told to do by my wife. So
You have responsibilities.
yeah. So, but to a deeper example, when I'm traveling, I'm not going to do a workout in the middle of the day. Rarely. Usually, it's going to be that morning routine will be totally consolidated. So, getting up even earlier, doing a cold plunge or a cold shower, depending on what hotel I'm at. I know which hotels have the coldest water now. It's getting strange. I travel quite a bit. And then I do my workout as well, and then I do my prep for the day for meetings and anything that I'm doing. So that's an example of an adjustment of consolidating the time I do have into one unit as opposed to 2 or 3. So
Oh, I love that. And like you're looking ahead. Like you're not like riding the coattails of the day. Like you're looking at, okay, so tomorrow this is what's going
oh
on
yeah.
in my life, our family, our kids. This is what I need to do so I can be my best for my family. Sounds like that's kind of what you're
And
doing.
that's such a good point because I was in New York talking with another client, a leadership team with another client. They wanted to talk about this very subject,
Mhm.
and as part of like how they show up as leaders every single day, because this isn't just a selfish practice in wellness. It's preparing you mentally, physically, spiritually to how you show up for the people around you that are important, and not just at work, but your family, your loved ones, your community, your team at work, whatever it is. We all have teams, and we all have the responsibility to lead in some regard. Even if you have a leadership title or not, we all have the opportunity to lead every single day. And if you don't show up with that ability because you're tired, you're out of shape, and we all know that when you engage in better fitness routines and eating clean, you have more energy. Whoa, big shock. You
Mhm.
think more clearly. Whoa, big shock. You make better decisions. Your productivity goes through the roof. These are not just my opinions. These are obviously, research-based facts. So, it's kind of making those decisions like, yeah, I feel like I want to go to that late dinner and I feel like I want to go out, after that, but I also have really important meetings tomorrow. Like, well, how big is your list of regrets tomorrow? It's under your control.
Yeah.
I wrote about that was a fun part of the book, be like, you control the list of regrets you have in your life. It's literally mostly up to you. So
Yeah, I love that. And you mentioned the productivity that comes from this lifestyle, and that's one of the things that I always share because you come across people like, but I don't have time to take care of myself. I don't have time to work out. I don't have time to eat better. Like the phrasing that people use to me is often, I can't fit anything more on my plate. I'm like, but what if it's the one thing that allows you to do all the things on your plate?
exactly. Exactly. The response I typically have is you can't afford not to find that time because you do have that time. I mean, people who I know who are super disciplined, they'll do push-ups or squats in their office in between Zoom calls. They'll get up a little bit earlier, go to bed a little bit, even if, and some of those days, even if they got meetings or a late business dinner, they're disciplined enough to still get up early, do their routine, and that still sort of re-engages their energy for the day, as opposed to trying to get that extra hour of sleep. Usually that doesn't do as much good, in my experience, as getting up and getting your body going. I
Yeah, for
apologize
sure.
for my colleagues in the other room.
That's all right. But yeah, that's so important because like 30 minutes, like 30 minutes that can give you that added productivity and focus and
Yeah,
be even better for whether it's your family, your coworkers, whatever it is. Like that's a trade-off that I want to get because that's in the positive. Like
yeah.
it's not
But
taking
it's
away
a
what I do.
it's kind of that, something is better than nothing, methodology. And you're never get nobody's ever regretted, gosh, I wish I hadn't worked out, or gosh, I didn't take that break to take a 15-minute walk and clear my head. You never say that.
Yeah.
You'll say, gosh, I wish I didn't, have 5 cocktails last night, or gosh, I wish I didn't sleep in for no reason and not start my day and be productive. You never say that. So thinking about those things, and also again, going back to your point, when you say I can't put one more thing on my plate, well, analyze what's on your plate and how
Mm,
much time you're spending on certain activities, or what things are you saying yes to that you need to start saying no to. That's a
mhm.
big thing you see is people just saying yes to everything, every social obligation, everything their boss gives them. They're destroying their schedule by saying yes to too many things and not pushing back and protecting, themselves and their mental health and the time that they need. So
Mhm. Yeah, I love that. That like you need to learn to say no. Like, and that can be really hard for a lot of people, especially for women. Like, feel like you have to do all the things, and I'm sure men as well. Like, you feel like you have to be the superhero, and do all the things just because of what we see around us. But
yeah,
then we forget that like we're seeing like we're seeing the highlight reel.
yeah. Oh,
You know?
all we ever see is the highlight reel.
Yeah.
Or, that's the definition of social media.
Yeah.
Look how happy, productive, and fit all these people are. They're so successful. It's like, well, they don't really post all the other crap.
Right? Yeah, they don't. Like they're not posting that like,
Yeah,
they didn't feel great today, they couldn't get things done, they couldn't show up their best. Yeah,
yeah,
so yeah, you absolutely have to say no. How do
yeah.
you encourage people to work on that part? Because that can be for some people it's really hard to say no. Like how do you encourage them to start doing that?
I think like anything else, having it doesn't have to be super formal. It sounds almost cliche, but having some type of accountability partner. If you're trying to get more fit, or if you're trying to achieve a specific goal, whether it's a fitness and wellness goal or a business goal, having some type of accountability partner who has some experience in that field, that realm, whatever it is. I like fitness as an example because you can see it. It's a very tangible type of example. So if you're going back to if you're that person who has it on your heart that you've got to check that box to run a marathon or run multiple marathons, but you've never run a marathon before, you're not even a runner, probably might be a good idea to have an accountability partner that you can talk to about that training regimen, the requirements, hold me accountable to these new routines that are going to make me initially pretty uncomfortable.
Mhm.
So they're going to help you get comfortable being uncomfortable doing those routines And they will also, that type of relationship also helps you look at, all right, one of the things I wrote about in the book is make a list of all the things to pursue that goal, whether it's, I need to lose 20 pounds or I want to become a marathon runner. Make a list of all the things that are going to suck on that glorious journey to mastery of whatever that is, because there will be many.
Mm-hmm.
And look at all the things that either are going to be really uncomfortable, push you beyond your comfort zone, things you don't like doing that are outside of your normal routines. Narrow that list down and be like, okay, now I gotta do those things
Mm-hmm.
a little bit every single day if I want to move the needle incrementally to grow in this area. And that's not an easy thing to do. So having an accountability partner really does help you. Like when I trained for the SEAL teams, I was training with, or for the SEAL program, I was training with a friend. So we were holding each other accountable. There was no like, hey, I'm not showing up tonight for the swim workout, or I'm not meeting you, on Saturday for the marathon. There was none of that. It was a good, healthy peer pressure situation. And also socializing these concepts. It sounds silly, but you've probably heard this before, but tell people that you're going to achieve this specific goal. Be open about it. Be like, yep, I'm going to lose 25 pounds in the next 3 months. Put it out there. And I don't mean put it out there like the energy in the world. I mean, like help tell people so that, it kind of puts the onus on you to achieve that goal because you've socialized it so much. So you'll kind of feel lousy if you don't achieve it.
Yeah. I feel like I kind of applied that in starting my own business of like, all right, like if I say it to people, like, shoot, I got to do this.
Yeah, I don't want to be that statistic.
Yeah, exactly. I'm
They're
like,
like, you're starting your own business. Yeah, how many businesses fail? Yeah.
mhm.
I've read the statistics.
Yeah,
Thank
like
you.
this number percentage in the first year, the fifth year, the 10th year. I'm like, I know,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
I
yes.
said it.
Yeah, I did that too in grad school. My parents were like, "You're doing what?" Just like they were when I said I'm quitting my job to join the Navy. They're like, "I'm sorry, what?"
Yeah.
They're like, "Can't you just get a real job?" I'm like, "Nope."
No, no. Yeah. And I still get the questions now and then of like, are you like, will you go back? Like, will you, right thing opens up and like, no.
Yeah. So when you fail, are you going to go back to the other thing?
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
Those types of comments fuel that throws fire for me. I mean, that's like,
Mhm.
and for people with that right mind. Sometimes, and it gives you kind of a sense of when people how disciplined people are in that journey, whatever that journey is. When the naysayers come forth, and they will always, does that fuel you to move forward, or does that make you question yourself enough to just stop right there?
Mhm.
That's the only thing I think of when I think failure. When you have a growth mindset, you're either winning or you're learning.
Mhm.
Failure is only when you stop doing something you really want to pursue.
Mhm.
There are certain things, a lot of things like we talked about that we should stop doing. That's not failure. That's not quitting. Some things we need to quit for sure. But when you stop moving forward down a path that you're called to, that you're passionate about, or a goal you need to achieve personally and professionally, the only failure is if you stop for whatever reason completely, and don't continue to try to move forward until obviously, sometimes there's certain barriers that will put you at an end to that journey. But that's the only real definition of failure in my mind.
Yeah. I love it. I like winning or learning. I'm the same way. Like you're like,
Yeah.
oh, you're not going to make it. I'm like, oh, watch me.
Yeah.
And that,
It's like, oh, you're going down this path, you're trying to close this big deal. Oh, the deal fell apart. Good. What did we learn? You don't really feel that way, but at least try and say that.
yeah. And I love that you're talking about growth mindset because I have another one of these episodes. I have someone else who focused very much on growth mindset.
Yeah.
And my background is education. So
Yeah.
growth mindset is so huge there. But I find for us in education, we look at growth mindset for our kids and our students, and we forget that we need to have a growth mindset.
It's so funny you said that. I was talking literally to my 9-year-old daughter this morning because we teach growth mindset to leaders in our programs and companies all over the world. And she was like, I know what growth mindset is. We talk about it every day in school. I was like, you're 9, but that's awesome.
Yeah, yeah, it's huge in education. But
Yeah,
yeah,
that's so cool.
we teach it to our kids, but then we're like, oh, but I can't,
Right,
and
right.
we have those like fixed mindset phrases. And I'm like, no, we
But
need growth mindset.
that's where accountability, individual and collective accountability, come into place too, where we're human, we're fallible. Like I get told all the time by my commanding officer, she'll be like, "You're not," my wife, she'll be like, "You're not practicing what you preach." I'm like, you're right.
Yep,
Yeah.
it's so important. And I love that you talk also about community and accountability and the importance of that. Can we kind of end on that and just how important it is to have like the accountability partners, the community, like you said, speaking it to the people you know? Like, why is that so important?
No, it's a good topic, and I did a little bit of research on that from Embrace Again. Is just because we are humans, we are, communal creatures, and so we need to rely on our community, people around us. Uh, and that's a good point too, because it has to be the right people around us. We are the sum of the people that we surround ourselves with. And when it's a good example, going back to what I said before, when I made the decision to go all in on training for the Navy, go into the SEAL program, there were actually people in my life, not just routines, but people that had to be removed or at
Mhm,
least put on the sidelines.
mhm.
And sometimes some of them were friends that I had for a long time, but looking at them and their behavior and seeing like, are they really my friend? They're not really supporting me in this endeavor. They're just saying, there's no way you're going to make that. This is a dumb decision. Like you said, when you fail, are you going to go back to the other? Like, no, you're out.
Yeah.
You don't have to be a jerk about it, but it's best to be transparent about it. Be like, look, I'm focusing on this, and I can only surround myself with people and a community of close colleagues or accountability partners or loved ones that are going to lift me up in this regard, as opposed to try and drag me back down. It's really important. But I like that part of the community because it can't just be anybody.
Mhm.
You shouldn't have anybody in your community. It's got to be the right community of people. So
Absolutely, absolutely. And like I think one of the first people I talked to in like my entrepreneurial journey was my nephew actually. My nephew was like 19, but he was ahead of me on this path. And like I'm just
yeah,
really proud of my nephew of he knew
yeah,
college wasn't for him. So he started his own business. And just the grit and determination. I was like, all right, let's chat because I'm getting on this path. And I
right,
think humility is important too of like who you choose to be
yeah,
in there of like my nephew's 19. I'm a lot older than him, but
yeah.
he's ahead of me on this pathway.
Exactly. And that's where, humility plays nicely into the growth mindset of really being humble enough to listen, to crave knowledge, to learn, to be allow yourself to be guided. And to put your ego aside and not just guided at the beginning, get some advice on what to do, what not to do, but throughout your journey.
Mhm.
That's why I believe in, things like Vistage and YPO and mentorship and coaching, because, people who really, I think, achieve more of the goals they set are lifelong learners. And they're
Mhm.
very humble in that journey, and they crave knowledge constantly. And they find a way to learn something new every single day in different capacities. That does take a lot of humility. That's why I hate the term expert. There's no such really thing as an expert in anything. There is no end state to the mastery of anything. Anybody who tells you that is a liar. Even if you have the title of best in the world at, the people who are the best in the world at are constantly training and finding new ways to level up. They're never satisfied with the status quo.
Yeah.
So I think that too is that as a goal is a good way to continue to develop the mindset. Is I always want to be satisfied, ways to be satisfied, but a little bit, excuse me, happy, but dissatisfied.
Yeah.
Actually, a buddy of mine said that recently in an interview I heard on Goldcast, and he's like, find ways to be happy,
Mhm.
but always be a little dissatisfied.
Mm. Yeah.
Meaning, don't accept the status quo. Find ways to push your comfort zone.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And I think that applies so well to like your health journey and living a
Yeah,
healthy life of you could be happy with who you are and like body positivity in that, but at the same time like the body positivity kind of I can't think of the word that I want for it, but that kind of circle can
yeah,
be like just be happy where you are. But I think we need to have a little bit of that dissatisfaction too of like, I'm happy with who I am and how I look, but I want to be better. I
yeah.
want to be
Right,
healthier.
right.
I
You
can
don't
be
have to
satisfied.
be. Yeah, you don't have to be. Again, going back to actual health and wellness, you don't have to be the person that looks like that person who looks like that person. For some of us, it's not even a possibility genetically. So don't be. You get that body image thing that pushes people down the wrong path, or they make unhealthy choices to try and pursue a goal that's pointless. That's not going to serve them, well in any capacity. So that's a good point that you make, because it has to be about, what you need, out of your wellness and how that applies to your life. So,
Well, this has been a fantastic conversation. Can I
yeah,
ask you just three fun questions to end it?
sure. I may not have answers, but let's go.
I think you'll like it. So, what are you currently reading, watching, and listening to?
I am currently reading several things, but I'm reading The Daily Stoic in the mornings.
Yep.
And then for fun, I'm reading my good buddy, retired SEAL Jack Carr, his series on the Terminalist series. They made it into a Netflix series, but
Oh, yep.
he's got now 7 books. Yeah, he's done really, really well. Super proud of him. So that's the thriller novel side. So, but the education for now is Daily Stoic in the mornings. And watching anything by Taylor Sheridan.
Okay.
So, we got, the Yellowstone's 1883. He's got a new show out called Lioness that's based on true events on how we developed female special operators to go behind enemy lines to partner with the wives and girlfriends of high value targets. That's a phenomenon. So, anything by Taylor Sheridan that I see out there, I'm quick to either grab my phone or watch it when I'm traveling or what have you. And what was the last one?
Listening to.
A lot of podcasts lately. One of my favorite podcasts, and my wife and I listen to this, is very focused on entrepreneurship. It's called How I Built This. And he's also got one focused on leadership as well. But it's from founder CEOs, some brands you've heard of, some brands you've never heard of, but about their entrepreneurial journey. And kind of, it's nice because it's the good, bad, and the ugly. It's not the unicorn. We're like, oh my gosh, it was zero to $1 billion overnight with no adversity whatsoever. It's like, no, of course, that's not reality. It actually took 15 years. It just seemed like it took 5.
Yeah, I
So,
love that. So
yeah.
often we see the success story and we don't see the whole 20 years of struggle.
Yeah, that got to that one micro moment that looks like this big explosive
Like,
thing.
I have to
So,
remind myself of that. I'm like, okay, everybody struggles in the beginning.
yeah.
Yep. Oh, those sound fantastic. This is actually how I add to my podcast list.
Yeah, there you go.
Fantastic. I'll have to add that one. Well, I want to thank you for joining us. Some
Thank you so
great
much.
points there. And I want to thank our audience. And actually, in the email and in the show notes is a link to Taking Point resources that Brent has for you. There's some videos in there. There's a couple of downloads, some really great resourses. I would encourage you to check that out. Taking Point he has some great resources, a great organization there
Thank
for
you.
leadership.
All right, well, Naomi, thank you so much. Really, I feel like we could have talked about this for 3 hours, but I'm sure we'll do it again. So appreciate you.
That would be fantastic. Thank you. Everybody have a
Thank you.
fantastic day.